Repo, 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 repo. All right, here you go. Charger, Challenger, Camaro, all repos. The repos that we're seeing now, it might just be the tip of the iceberg. So this is the kind of thing we typically see on a lot of these repos. You see that thing's been kissed. You hear that? Somebody's knocking, they're trying to get out. And more trucks getting repoed. Big work trucks getting repoed. That's not good. So you've asked for it. You've seen these repos on my channel. You've seen me go to these auctions and show you a lot of these repos, but you want to know the price of what dealers are paying for these repos when they go through auction. So today I'm going to show you. All right, so I am in the middle of a massive lot that is full of repos. And these aren't just any run-of-the-mill repos. These are actually a big bank. This is Wells Fargo. This is Credit Acceptance. This is Capital One. These are large banks that are having these cars repoed. So here's the kind of vehicle I would actually expect to start popping up more often is these like Land Rovers, more luxury cars. It's got a crack in the windshield if you can see that, because people thought they had a lot of money the last 2 years and turns out they don't. So we'll start seeing more of these come through, people that can't afford these kind of payments. I mean, this car looks sweet, it's nice. It's just people can't afford this kind of stuff anymore. Cost of living's going up and they don't have all the free money that was being pumped into the system over the last couple of years. So this is a Land Rover. It's got 92,000 miles, and look at the year, it's a 2019. And what we're seeing now is a massive rise in these repos that are showing up at these auctions. All these cars behind me, they're all Wells Fargo. And while we're seeing these massive rise of big bank repos, what's even more alarming are there certain companies that are actually paying extra money to recovery companies, to these repo companies, to try to put themselves at the front of the line to get their cars back, because they know that these repos are exploding and they're trying to get their cars back right now. An example of that is Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is paying a premium to recovery companies to be able to get their vehicles back, because they know prices are going down. They know there's a lot more repos going into the system. So they want to be at the front of the line. They want to go ahead and get their repos back so they can send them to auction and get more money now than they know that they're going to be able to get next month, 3 months, 6 months from now, because the cost, the value of these wholesale prices are going down, and they know that there's about to be this massive wave of repos going through the system, and they just want to be in the front of the line. All right, here you go. Charger, Challenger, Camaro, all repos, all right there. And this is typically what repos look like when they come in. So this is the kind of thing we typically see on a lot of these repos. You see that thing's been kissed, like the whole side of it's actually smashed in. And what we see with a lot of these repos, even the nicer cars, I mean, this is a Camaro, it's pretty sweet. They're not taken care of. If anything goes wrong with them, then the people don't have the money to fix them. They don't care to fix them. So they're just going to let that go back to the bank. They're not going to continue to make payments on something that they don't care about. And more cracks in the glass. You hear that? Somebody's knocking, they're trying to get out. All right, here's a 2019 F-150. It's an XLT. It's got 44,000 miles on it. The outside looks great. Inside looks, I mean, fantastic too. So this is a repo. It's also coming from Wells Fargo, and we'll go inside and see how much a dealer will actually pay for this. All right, I don't know if I'm going to be able to capture this on camera, but just to show you the scale of this, there is actually 7 rows. I don't know if you can see from all the way back behind me, but there are 5 rows that are actually facing this way right behind me, and then you have 2 rows that are facing that way on the other side. That's how many bank repos that we have coming through this auction. Now, typically a year and a half, 2 years ago, when we would come to this auction, they would still have bank repos. Bank repos are not a new thing. They've always been going through the system. But the scale of what are coming through these auctions right now are at least double what I've seen in my career. And a Mustang repo. This is a 2020. Need to find out if it's a GT or not, but it's got 66,000 miles. Let's look right here. I mean, everything looks good on it. Outside looks great. This is not a GT. It's got the little 2.3 motor, but it's a, what did I say, 2019 Mustang. It's got 66,000 miles. We'll see what it brings inside. And just the simple fact that we know that there are not enough tow truck drivers to actually get all these repos, and that's why companies like Wells Fargo are paying a premium to be out the front of the line to get these cars back that these customers are delinquent on. It just shows that the repos that we're seeing now, it might just be the tip of the iceberg, because there's a backlog of people not paying their car payments that are waiting to have their car snatched up. There's just not enough tow truck drivers to go pick these cars up. All right, we don't see this very often, but this is a Camry that is a repo, and it's got 42,000 miles. It's a 2022. So this customer didn't have it for very long, if they bought it new. I'm sure they bought it new. But if you can look in there, it looks like a brand new car. It looks very clean. This is a 2022 Toyota Camry, and it's got 42,000 miles on it. Another alarming thing about this is that the banks don't want these cars back. They're actually working with these customers. They're extending some of these loans because they know that they're so far underwater on these vehicles that if they take them back and then run them through auction, they're not getting close to what this customer might owe on this vehicle back when they run it through these auctions. So the banks are going to get stuck with a lot of these cars. They're still working with these customers, but when they stop working with these customers, the repo rate is going to rise even further. See a lot of Chargers, a lot of Challengers being repoed. There's more cracks in the windshield and more repo goodness for you right there. All right, so this is a Ram 2500. It's only got 19,000 miles. It's a 22 model. There you go. Looks pretty good on the outside. I mean, it's only a year old, so it's actually in really good shape. But this is the kind of truck that we don't want to see. This is bad for our economy when we start seeing these big work trucks actually get repoed and being sold off by these banks. That's saying that the working market, the contracting market, it's getting a little bit slower, because that's who's going to own something like this and have the loan on it. It's just not a good sign for our economy. And more trashed repos. There's the front end damage, more front end damage. Boom. So now, just the simple fact that these tow truck drivers cannot keep up with the demand coming from these banks for their repos, it's a very bad sign for our economy. So I just sat in there and watched a lot of these big bank repo cars run through the auction, and they sold everything. So what do they know? They know that a lot more repos are coming into the system. They know that wholesale prices are going down, so they're getting rid of everything right now. And you know what? All these cars, they're all these big bank repos. They're going to refill this lot again next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. They're going to just keep on pumping these repos through these auctions and getting rid of them, because more repos coming through the system. The recovery drivers can't even keep up with the demand from these banks to go snatch these cars from these customers that are not paying their bills right now. A lot more repos coming into the system should add some headwinds to the used car market, push prices down a little bit. All right, so I actually grabbed some prices for a lot of those repos that we actually saw going through this video. The first one was the, actually didn't put the year. Why did I not put the year? Hold on a second. All right, got it. It was a 2022 Ram 2500, the big work truck we saw. Only had 19,000 miles on it. This one was interesting because the auctioneer was running it down, and they started like 50 grand and brought it all the way down to $40,000 and never got a bid. Not in the lane, not from online. This is auction that there are bidders in lane and also bidders that are online watching. But it got no bid, and it started pulling out. The auctioneer said no sell, and then there was a bidder that ran up to the auctioneer and said, okay, how much do we need to have? And the seller was right beside the auctioneer, and the seller said that they needed $46,000, and the bidder offered $45,000, and the seller sold it. All right, so this next one, I didn't write the year on this one either. Hold on, this is so stupid. All right, I'm so dumb. So it was a 2019 Range Rover, and it had 92,000 miles, and it brought $23,400 in lane, and it sold. All right, so the 2022 Camry with 42,000 miles, it brought $21,200, and it sold. All right, so let's talk about the Camry for a second. So that Camry is a little over a year and a half old, and it already has 42,000 miles on it. So that customer that bought it probably put the minimum down payment on that vehicle and then made the payments until recently and stopped, and now the bank had to go repo that car. But because it has so many miles on it now, it has lost so much value that what is owed on that Camry is probably substantially more than what that Camry is actually worth. And to think too that that bank is actually dumping it at auction. So it's going to get a wholesale value at this auction, which is going to be way less than a retail value. So the bank is going to be very, very underwater on this car from what the customer actually owed on it. So somebody's going to take a major loss on this car, and at the end of the day, it's probably going to end up being the bank. All right, the 2019 F-150, it had 44,000 miles. It brought $32,800 in lane, and it sold. All right, and the 2020 Mustang, it was not a GT, had 66,000 miles. It brought $17,200, and it sold. So all of these vehicles, they all sold. There was only one that was even just remotely close to not selling, but these banks, they want to get rid of these repos. They don't want to hold them. They actually can't hold them week after week after week. They have to move them because they just don't have enough space, and these auctions can't really keep loading up on these repos coming in from these banks. So these banks have to move these cars, and that's why we're seeing all of them sell, because they want to get rid of them. They know that wholesale prices are coming down from here. They know they have a whole new batch of repos coming into the system week after week after week. So they just have to move these cars out. They're going to take their lumps. They're going to write off whatever they need to write off. They're going to try to get whatever money they can out of these customers. But at the end of the day, they know that they're going to be taking a lot of losses, and their first loss is going to be their best loss. So they're dumping them at auction, and they're moving on, and we're just going to see a lot more of that going through the system now. All right, lighting's probably weird, but I don't care. I just want to say we got this in the mail. From the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for all the people who subscribed, watched, supported us. It means the world to us, and we can't believe we're where we are right now, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So just thank you so much for making this happen And we just, from me, my wife, my son, we're very appreciative for all your support. Thanks, guys. My wife is in here right now, and I told her to be quiet, but
people are not going to like you talking to me that way.
So we're not going to put that in.
Don't let him talk to me that way.
Now we're definitely not putting it in. Okay. All right, so the 20...
Lola wants to be in this one.
My dog just ran by. It's really difficult to do this when you're in here.
You told me to stop.
No, I know. I'm going to get them.